If you're in your 50s, listen carefully. Just a few wrong decisions now could lead to decades of regret when you turn 80. It may sound distant, but I've witnessed this reality more than once, and even I once fell into that trap myself. As someone who has lived through more than 80 years, today I want to share with you 7 life lessons that truly matter, the lessons I wish I had known earlier, and the ones almost no one tells you when you're in your 50s. These are not words from a book. They are lessons paid for with health, with youth, and sometimes with happiness itself. If you truly want to reach 80 with no regrets, hit subscribe and stay with me, because what you do today will shape exactly who you become 30 years from now. And the very first lesson I wish I had understood at 50 is this: health is the greatest wealth life can give us. I'll never forget my old neighbor Walter, a lifelong carpenter. At 55, he was still strong, every morning cutting wood to build tables and chairs, every afternoon walking his dog around the block. He often said, "I'm still young, I'm strong. Illness won't come for me yet." So he kept working tirelessly, eating irregularly, and ignoring the back pain, ignoring the routine health checkups. By 70, everything had changed. Walter could no longer stand on his own. First, he needed a cane. Then, even the cane wasn't enough. Eventually, he had to use a wheelchair. The man who once built homes and furniture for the whole neighborhood now only sat by the window, his eyes heavy with sorrow. And he told me words I'll never forget. If I had known 55 was the turning point, I would have lived differently. I would have cared for my body sooner so that today I could run and play with my grandchildren. That story was a wake-up call. You see, when you lose money, you can earn it back. When you lose status, you can rebuild it. But when you lose health, there's nothing that can buy it back. Turning 50 is not too late, but it is a turning point. If you begin caring for your body now, eating healthy, staying active, getting enough rest, your 80s can still be filled with freedom and joy. And health is not only about the body, but also the mind. Keeping your spirit calm, avoiding unnecessary stress, that too is a way of protecting yourself. And from here, I want to share something equally important: learning to say no to protect your inner peace. The second lesson I had to live more than half my life to truly understand is this: learn to say no to protect your peace of mind. When I was in my 50s, I was like so many others, always trying to please everyone. A neighbor asked for help. I said yes. A colleague needed someone to cover a shift. I said yes. My children needed something. I stretched myself to handle it. I thought the more I gave, the more I would be loved and respected. But the truth turned out to be the opposite. I remember a woman named Marjorie, a few years older than me, who had been an elementary school teacher. She lived her whole life for others. She tutored neighborhood kids for free, volunteered for every community group, and was always busy doing something for someone else. But by the time she turned 70, she was exhausted. Her body was worn out, her spirit drained, and her heart full of regret for never giving time to herself. She confided, "I wish I had learned to say no earlier. I let my youth slip away on things that didn't truly matter." Hearing her words, I realized something profound. Saying no is not selfish. It is how we preserve our health, protect the stillness of our hearts, and keep enough energy to live the days that truly matter. If we keep chasing every request, every expectation, we will slowly lose ourselves. But when we learn to decline what isn't essential, we create space for joy, for rest, and for the relationships that truly bring meaning to our lives. So if you are in your 50s, remember this: you don't need to please everyone. You only need to live true to yourself. Saying no is not about rejection. It's about preserving space for the things that matter most in your life. And when we learn to choose wisely, what to hold on to and what to let go, we begin to see another lesson clearly. Friendship and connection are what make life after 70 truly meaningful. The third lesson I want to share with those of you in your 50s is this. Friendship and connection matter more than ever. At 80, I realized something with crystal clarity. A big house, a full savings account, or achievements I was once so proud of, none of them could ever replace having a friend who sits down to listen to your stories, or an afternoon walk with someone by your side. I remember Frank, a former factory worker, now over 82. He had lived a very private life, devoted only to work and family. When he retired, he thought he would enjoy the peace and quiet. But then his wife passed away early, his children became busy with their own families, and the house that once rang with laughter fell into silence. He admitted, "I had money, I had a roof over my head, but I didn't have anyone to talk to. And that loneliness was what slowly destroyed me." Later, he joined a local senior club, made friends with others in the same situation, and his life completely changed. His smile returned, and his mental health improved dramatically. That story taught me something. We cannot live alone and expect to be happy. When you're in your 50s, nurture your friendships, maintain healthy relationships, and don't be afraid to open yourself to community connections. Because after 70, it is those very relationships that become the priceless medicine, fending off loneliness, keeping the mind sharp, and reminding you that you are still loved, that you still belong somewhere. I truly believe friendship is like a vitamin for old age. It keeps the heart warm and the mind clear. And if there's one thing I would tell anyone in their 50s, it's this. Invest in friendship now, because one day you will find it's worth more than any amount of money. And from those long conversations with friends, I was reminded of another truth just as important. You cannot fully enjoy those connections without health. Which brings me to the next lesson, that health is the foundation for living fully after 70. The fourth lesson I want to share with those of you in your 50s is this. Health is the single foundation that allows you to live fully after 70. I have met so many older people like myself, people with money, children, even past accomplishments, but who can no longer take a walk on their own, climb a few stairs, or do the smallest things like button a shirt or tie their shoes. And in that moment, everything that once felt so valuable suddenly becomes meaningless, because without health, you cannot enjoy any of it. I remember Evelyn, an 81-year-old woman who lived in my neighborhood. At 70, she still loved driving herself to the grocery store and even joined a seniors dance class. But only a few short years later, arthritis set in. Walking became difficult, first with a cane, then eventually with a wheelchair. One day she told me, "I'm not afraid of aging. I'm afraid of not having the strength to do the things I love anymore." Her words shook me because they reflect the truth so many face after 70. The loss of health does not come as slowly as we imagine. It often arrives suddenly and takes everything with it. So if you're in your 50s, please don't be complacent. Think of health at this age like a savings account. If you invest wisely through regular exercise, healthy eating, and proper rest, then after 70, you will still have the energy to travel, to hold your grandchildren, to share conversations with friends, and to fully enjoy peaceful days. But if you squander it, if you neglect your body, by the time you realize it, it may be too late. They say you can always earn back money, but you can never earn back lost health. Don't wait until a doctor tells you to stop eating your favorite foods, stop visiting the places you love, stop doing what brings you joy before realizing how priceless health truly is. Start now, because after 70, only a solid foundation of health will give you the freedom to live a full and meaningful life. And once you have health, you'll soon realize there is something else just as vital for peace in old age. Learning to forgive, to let go of the past, and to free your spirit. The fifth lesson I want to share is something that sounds simple, but I didn't truly understand it until my hair turned gray and my skin grew wrinkled. Forgiveness and letting go of the past. I have met countless people who, even at 70 or 80, still live with resentment, regret, or guilt over things that happened decades ago. Those memories are like heavy stones, weighing them down, making old age feel burdensome instead of light and peaceful. I remember an old man at the church near my home, named Harold. For more than 30 years, he didn't speak to his brother because of a small dispute over land. By the time both were nearly 80, his brother passed away. At the funeral, Harold stood frozen, tears streaming down his face, and the only words he could say were, "If only I had let go sooner. If only I had forgiven." He lived for a few more years, but carried that regret in his heart until the very end. That story taught me something powerful. Forgiveness is not really for the other person. It's for yourself. When you forgive, you are free. When you let go, you create space for happiness to come in. Think about it. How much time do we really have left? If we allow old wounds to haunt us, we will never truly live today to the fullest. So if you're in your 50s, start learning how to lighten your heart. The words that once hurt you, the mistakes you still regret, all of that is behind you. Don't let them dictate your old age. Forgive others. Forgive yourself. Let your heart become lighter so that when you reach 70 or 80, you can truly smile. And when your heart feels light again, you'll discover another truth. Love in marriage, in friendship, and even in the face of loss is what nourishes us the most and what sustains us through the years. The sixth lesson I want to share with you is this: love and connection in marriage, in friendship, and even when facing loss. At 80, looking back, I can clearly see that what remains in the heart is not work, not titles, not the numbers in a bank account. What truly stays are the familiar faces, the hands that once held ours, the people who walked beside us through all of life's ups and downs. I remember Mrs. Rose, 84, who lived near me. She had a marriage that lasted more than 50 years. Her husband, a veteran, passed away when she was in her early 70s. In the first days after her loss, she fell into an emptiness so deep that she thought nothing could keep her going. But then, the memories of their love, together with the bond she shared with her children and close friends, gave her the strength to stand again. She often said, "Love doesn't disappear, it only changes form." When you love truly, that love becomes the strength that carries you forward, even when the one you loved is gone. On the other hand, I once met an old man named Martin, 79, who had many friends once, but neglected them all in his pursuit of a career. In old age, he had wealth, he had a large house, but no one to share a cup of tea with, no one to check on him when he was sick. He sighed and told me, "Perhaps I chose wrong. I had everything except love and connection." His story is a painful reminder that when love is abandoned, old age becomes unbearably cold. So if you are in your 50s, cherish the people beside you. Don't let small arguments break apart a precious relationship. Don't get so caught up in work that you forget the spouse quietly waiting at home, or the friends whose gatherings may one day become the warm memories that carry you through. Love and connection, in whatever form, are the flame that keeps old age from going dark. And when you live fully in love, you will discover one final lesson, perhaps the most important of all, that the true meaning of life does not lie in what we accumulate, but in the spiritual legacy and love we leave behind. The final lesson, and perhaps the deepest truth I want to leave with you, is this: the true meaning of life and the spiritual legacy we leave behind. At 80, when I look back, I realize that everything we once thought was important, money, fame, titles, are, in the end, just numbers and objects that eventually fade away. But the love we gave, the values we lived by, the beautiful memories we planted in the hearts of our children and those around us, those are what remain, even long after we are gone. I once knew an old man named Samuel. He had been a very successful businessman and left behind great wealth for his children. But on the day he passed away, I overheard one of his children whisper, "Dad was good at making money, but we don't remember many moments of just sitting with him." That sentence sent a chill through me. Because if, at the end of life, people remember us only as money-making machines, then that is a heartbreak beyond words. On the other hand, I also knew an old woman named Clara, 86. She didn't leave behind much wealth at all, just a few old journals and a box full of handwritten letters for her children and grandchildren. In those pages, she wrote her advice, her little stories, and her heartfelt reminders about love, kindness, and gratitude. On the day she passed, her family gathered and read those letters aloud. Tears and laughter filled the room, and her grandchildren said, "Grandma didn't leave us money. She left us a treasure of love and wisdom." And I truly believe that is the real legacy of a life well lived. So if you are in your 50s, ask yourself, what do you want your children and grandchildren to remember about you? As someone always too busy, too absent? Or as someone who inspired them, who left behind stories, lessons, and above all, a heart full of love? Life is not just about what we accumulate. It is about what we leave in the hearts of others. And once you understand this, you will see that old age is no longer something to fear. Because even when the body grows weak, even when time grows short, your spiritual legacy, your love, your kindness, your wisdom will continue to live on, carried forward by the generations that come after you. That's why I always tell those younger than me, live a life worth remembering, not just a long one. And starting today, begin planting seeds of love so that when your hair turns silver, you can smile in peace, knowing you've left behind something truly meaningful. Looking back on our journey today, we've walked through 7 powerful lessons, from caring for your health, learning to say no to protect your peace, nurturing friendships and connections, to forgiving, to loving, and finally to leaving behind a spiritual legacy that matters. These are not just the reflections of someone who has lived to 80, but also reminders for anyone in their 50s or 60s. You can choose how you will grow old. You can prepare so that old age is not a burden, but a chapter of peace and pride. I hope you won't just listen and move on, but pause for a moment and ask yourself, among these 7 lessons, which one speaks most deeply to your heart? Which one will you begin applying today? While age may take away our health, it's the wise choices we make now that determine whether we will have a fulfilling old age or not. If you find these reflections helpful, leave a comment below saying, "I am ready for old age," to affirm your commitment to living a life of peace and meaning. And don't forget to like this video, share it with someone you love, and hit subscribe so we can continue this journey together, learning and preserving happiness in our later years. In the next video, we will step into a very special topic: life after 70, lessons that shift everything. These are lessons that can completely change the way you see aging. Trust me, you won't want to miss it, because sometimes just one new perspective can make your 70s the most beautiful chapter of your life.